it's time for Movie Friends with your hosts Michelle and Seth. We're talking film without pretension. We're finding cats that are unexpected. We'll watch a movie, film, or schmovie, and we want you to join our journey. So subscribe and share this podcast, or this might just be the last of the Movie Friends. We're movie friends. We want to be your movie friends.
Welcome to New Release Review, part of the Movie Friends podcast. My name is Seth. Today, we are talking about 28 Years Later from 2025, directed by Danny Boyle. Now, we will be discussing spoilers throughout this entire episode, so if you have not yet seen 28 Years Later, at this point, quite frankly, that's on you. But go watch the movie and then come back and listen. My guest for today is Ryan Ritter. He's the host of the podcast Pop Culture Historians, and he writes the blog Crittical Analysis. That is Crittical with 2 T's, like his name. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing great, Seth. How are you?
I'm doing well. It is 9:40 at night. I can see a beautiful sky, and I feel death stalking me from behind.
There might be an alpha chasing you. That might be why that is.
So before we talk about 28 Years Later, I want to ask you about these 2 projects that you got going on.
Yeah. The first is my podcast, which I co-host with my friend, Jimmy McShane. Longtime friend since high school. And one of the things that really bonded us all the way back then, we had a lot of the same interests, but we also had the same incessant need to go through our favorite franchises or movie series chronologically. So that's what we do on the show. Our ambition's a little high. We kind of go back and forth between a TV project and a movie project, and we're both on the first. We're still on the first ones we did a few years ago. So the TV project, he is showing me classic Doctor Who.
Oh my god!
From the beginning, we just got done with the black and white era.
Okay.
So we're gonna have enough material there until we are in the grave.
Sure, absolutely.
And on the movie side, only because it seems like the dominant force of pop culture now, waxing and waning, the superhero genre, the sometimes beloved, sometimes much chagrined superhero genre. We started all the way back with the serials of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, where Batman and Superman first made their appearances in the movie serials. And we are in the 2000s, this kind of doldrums period right now. A lot of Ghost Rider and inferior Spider-Man and X-Men sequels. So I'm thinking about quitting and doing something else. No, that's not true. So check that out if you like that.
What's crazy is you're about to hit an incredibly dense period. So even though, in terms of years, you're closer to the end than ever, you've got a large chunk to work through.
And every time I think it's dead, it keeps coming back. I thought for sure, well, the pandemic and the strikes have killed this for good. And now we got the Superman movie and Fantastic Four, all this stuff. Again, we may never need to switch gears the way we're going. So that's what we're doing right now. And on the blog, the other kind of passion, maybe my true passion, is writing. I don't know if I'm any good at it, but I do it. And that's another kind of movie discussion piece. I've done a lot of different things there. I've gone through the works of Sofia Coppola, the Jaws series. I did that one summer. I went through the Jaws movies. And right now, if I have my release dates correct, by the time this comes out, I should have, or I will soon be posting the last article in a retrospective I've started back in October, going through each season of the TV show Lost, the hit ABC TV series Lost. And after that, I'll be kicking off a summer of Spielberg, a personal favorite of yours, I understand.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Last year I did his 70s movies, and this year I'll be doing his 80s movies. So I'll do an article a week on Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., all the good stuff, all the Amblin stuff that kind of shot him into the stratosphere. So if you're interested in any of that, check it out. I mentioned all this to hold myself accountable. It's now been recorded. I have to do it.
That's right. That's
right. It's been documented.
come on Movie Friends so that you can set deadlines for yourself. That's actually
whatever
I should
works.
start advertising that. Yeah.
That's right.
I'm a big fan of Lost.
Excellent. Not everyone
great.
is. I've learned.
I
Over the
know.
years.
Great TV show. There's just something about a group of people living on an island. Maybe sometimes they leave the island, and maybe sometimes they come back, which
And
of
there's a
course leads
mysterious
us into tonight's movie, 28 years later.
That's why you make the big bucks.
That's yeah. It's not a segue. It's a Seth way. Now, this is the third film in a series of films that have 5 movies planned so far. Do you remember your first time watching 28 Days Later? What is your experience with 28 Weeks Later? Hit us with your perspective heading into this movie.
Yeah, I remember fairly vividly my first time seeing this. I didn't see it in theaters. I've never been much of a zombie movie person, believe it or not. But I don't know, but something about it has just never stuck with me. I don't participate in like the Walking Dead universe. Yeah. I don't read through the chapters of the Book of Daryl Dixon or whatever. Yeah. I'm not like a George Romero guy. But for whatever reason, a few years after it came out, we still had like blockbusters and stuff. This was 2007, the old days, right?
Yep.
I got off work and I called up my friend. In fact, the friend that I do the podcast with, Pop Culture Historians. It was a Halloween night, and I was just like, "Hey, Jimmy, what are you doing?" And he said, "Nothing, because we're 19. We're not doing anything for Halloween." So, Jimmy, I want you to come over. I'm going to rent 28 Days Later. I've never seen it. I don't know. It's just like a bolt from the blue. I just decided mid Halloween of 2007, I want to watch 28 Days Later. Popped it in. I thought it was really great. I think I was all jazzed. I think maybe it's because it was the same year 28 Weeks Later came out.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, maybe I'll go check that out. Heard it wasn't very good. Decided not to watch it. There it lay for about 18 years. I finally watched 28 Weeks Later, I think a couple weeks ago in anticipation of watching 28 Years. Didn't like that one as much. So,
yeah.
What I like about 28 Days Later is all gone by 28 weeks. I know that the kind of camcorder style doesn't work for everybody, and I had forgotten that the whole movie, except for like maybe like the end, is shot in that very kind of like lo-fi home movie style. I think it really works for the kind of story they're trying to tell. I think that is what I like about Danny Boyle when I like him. I don't always love everything he does, but when he really works, he kind of brings you into an abrasive style and makes it work until you stop noticing it. And that's kind of how I felt about 28 Days Later. I was watching it with my wife. She had never seen it. Crossing my fingers, hoping it it held up to my memory. It did. She loved it too. And I was like, I don't remember the whole movie looking like this. I think it clears up at some point. Doesn't really. Mm-hmm. But then you have that opening 30 minutes where it's just Cillian Murphy wandering through London. Beautiful, still holds up. You rarely see a movie making like that. And all that stuff is gone by 28 Weeks Later. The Britishness is gone. The style's gone. It's kind of more streamlined. It's just kind of, it's not a catastrophe. It's just kind of nothing. Didn't surprise me that 28 years later decided to just kind of pretend it didn't happen.
Right.
I know there's a little storyline about like the virus was contained until it wasn't. 28 years pretends like it just never stopped. I get it. That's my experience. Those two.
I did not see 28 Days Later in theaters, but we watched it pretty quickly after it came out. Watched it at home, and it just terrified me. Absolutely so scared, and loved how it was shot. I loved how, because we're so used to seeing movies made the Hollywood way, that just switching up the camera puts you a little off kilter. And I agree with you. Like in my memory, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know that they do the handheld thing like kind of the whole time. And for me, it's when we're in the church and it goes from like mostly him just by himself to now it's like entering this grander world of the virus. This might annoy some people. I call them zombies. I know that some people are very, very firm on calling them infected. To those people, I say I do not care.
Let's go watch an infected movie tonight.
I'm not making fun of those people. Like, that's fine. But I just wanted to say that towards the beginning of the episode, if you're listening to this and I say zombies, just know that I mean the people who are infected by the monkey rage virus. It's okay. We're talking about the same thing. Absolutely loved it. And we watched it a lot. We would watch 28 Days Later regularly. And then when 28 Weeks Later came out, it was like, we are there day one. Oh my God, this is going to be great. And of course, all the way back then, we were like, they're going to do weeks later and then months later and then years later. But we weren't thinking that it would actually be all this time later, right? And then 28 weeks later happened and we were like, this sucks. Like, this is not that good. I love how time just changes everything, and younger people than us will now talk about 28 weeks later and they're like, this is great, it's a masterpiece, and I'm like, God bless you, this is wonderful.
Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, like the Star Wars prequels, like I saw all those in theater and I was like, okay, all right. And
talking
nowadays,
yourself into they're good. No,
yeah,
I'm not wasting my time with these. Yeah, I went to the same
people
arc.
like, they're just as good. But anyway, but I was excited for 28 years later. Big fan of Ray Fiennes. I was excited to see him in the trailer. I try to avoid as much trailer stuff as I possibly can. So I went into this only having seen him what appeared to be bloody and scary, and I was like, oh yeah, evil Ray Fiennes, like, this is going to be really, really cool. And then I watched the movie and I was kind of confused a lot of the time. And that's not what we got at all. And what we got is not bad. I appreciate that they shot this on phones, even if their rigs may have cost tens of thousands of dollars in order to shoot it on phones, but it might be just for show, you know what I mean? Like, when everything is said and done. But
Maybe.
I'm glad that someone of Danny Boyle's caliber is like, nah, let's still do something lo-fi and interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it did, again, it's the same kind of deal, not the same kind of deal in terms of how it looks in 28 Days Later, but there are some stylistic things in 28 Years Later that took me a second to get adjusted to, that made me a little nervous as the movie's unspooling. And I guess the most obvious example would be like the way that he shoots like these initial kind of like kill shots that Aaron Taylor Johnson and his son are doing, because like it almost has like this video gamey like arrow through the head and then boom. This is a great thing for podcasting, a visual indicator.
Right.
But like it'll hit and then like it'll kind of zoom around. So you see like the other side of the zombie's face and like almost like all the way around. It feels like one of those like you did it video game things.
Right.
And I was like, I can't decide if I like that or not yet. But as the movie went around and it kind of felt like it was becoming the story about like this kid who's kind of interacting with violence for the first time, I kind of looked at it as more as like, oh, these are just little snapshot memories, things of like this traumatic thing he's doing, and then I stopped noticing it because I got used to it.
Right.
Same thing with the DTV kind of shaky camcorder stuff of the first one.
Right.
So
yeah, that's a very good perspective on those. That didn't bother me. And what I'll say is, like, I'm not a very big modern video game player, but when that happens in a game, it's kind of cool. And that they
I feel accomplished.
That they replicated it practically, though. That is kind of impressive to me. It's like, okay, yeah, I can see how in a video game you can do that because it's a completely fake world, but that they were like, let's do this for real. I'm clapping.
You have to give it up. Yeah. No, I mean, it was undeniably fun. I couldn't read on like, is this movie trying to just look cool to be cool, or is there a purpose? Right. That's fine either way, but I ultimately decided there was a purpose to it. So
yeah,
which helped me kind of get into the world a little bit.
Yeah. So just kind of your general thoughts, how you received the movie, what you think of it.
Yeah, considering considering if my little preamble about going through days and weeks is, it's not like I'm like this like diehard fan of like the universe. I didn't know there were people out there who were very hardcore about the terminology. I will try to say infected. I'm trying to give respect to the franchise, but I was weirdly kind of like, I hope 28 years later is good, considering that I don't have that much attachment to the first two. I kind of felt like this, like I want this movie to nail it. Because we are in this world where everything gets resurrected and everything gets a new movie eventually, or a new season, or like a streaming spinoff. And 28 days later, after weeks, kind of felt like this franchise, there were only two for a long time. I kind of felt like it was just kind of done business, and here they were kind of bringing it back, and it's kind of this movie that's been considered like a classic, early 21st century kind of masterpiece, which feels like high praise, but it is how it's perceived. So I'm like, okay, and then if this flops, there's two more coming out, so there's a lot riding on this. So I was very surprised at how much I ended up liking it. I don't think it's particularly scary in the way that 28 Days Later is, but I think it makes up for that by being weirdly positive. I do agree. I don't know. I didn't really see the trailers or anything, but you couldn't miss the posters of that temple made of skulls. In fact, the next movie is called The Bone Temple.
Yeah.
Seems like pretty harrowing stuff. So imagine, I was pretty shocked that it ended up being like this nice thing. this kind of tribute to the fallen people and the source of catharsis for the main character, the kid. I was kind of shocked by that. And yeah, you're right. Rafe Fiennes is not a scary man in this. He's a very nice man. And that also kind of shocked me. But that all worked for me. I suspect for some that might feel like a rug pull, maybe being promised something that they didn't get. This happens all the time. But I was surprised at how weirdly optimistic it was, considering it is a movie about an isolated society 30 years into a rage virus destroying the world. The fact that Danny Boyle was able to find like a humanist streak in there kind of rattled me in a positive way. So I don't I do worry about these sequels. I'm sure we may talk about that a little bit, and I can elaborate on that when we get there. I'm a little worried if 4 and 5 are gonna create a full picture that I like, but as of right now, I'm on board. Part 1 of this trilogy. Thumbs up from Ryan Ritter.
Yeah, I definitely felt the rug pull. I went into this thinking Danny Boyle is back, baby. We are going to get course corrected. We're coming back to, the brutality of the first one. That was really not what I got. I say all the time, and I wish that I had taken my advice this time around, is expectation is the death of experience. So when you hype yourself up to expect what something is going to be like, instead of taking it as it is, the as it is now living up to something that it was never meant to be, right? So I'm like, okay, all right. I guess this is a father-son movie. Cool, cool. We're going on to the mainland.
Yeah.
All right. They take a shower outside. Okay, cool. Everybody seems really nice and happy. Oh, okay. All right, we're getting to some zombies. Oh, they're ground zombies. Slow guys. Okay, okay. Yeah, they eat worms.
Getting back to basics.
Yeah, all right. Oh, I see what they're doing. It's a kid, so we're starting slow, and then it's going to get really crazy. And I was like, oh, it's not really getting really crazy here. Huh. Okay. So I had to kind of quell what I was expecting, which was, death and violence and carnage and chaos and craziness. And that's very hard to do over the course of the runtime. So personally, I did not love this one. However, in the time since I have seen it, I've had plenty of time to think about it and read other people's opinions on it. And I will definitely be rewatching this one ahead of watching the next one. And I'm hoping that I can take it as it is the next time around. I'm a morbid person, and I don't have a problem with that. fine thinking and talking about death. You know, death scares some people and makes some people uncomfortable. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. It's a big part of life. It's the only thing apart from being born that we all experience.
And we only got to do it once. For as much as we're scared about it, we only got to do it one time.
So I liked with Dr. Kelson, not the main character. Alfie Williams plays Spike, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. I thought that he was great, like genuinely really great performance.
Agreed.
But Dr. Kelson, I liked that they were able to take the impartiality that is imbued to the zombies about the human body in a violent way, that they were able to impart that same thing to a live, loving, empathetic human, so that when Jodie Comer comes to him and he says, "You're dying of cancer, there's nothing we can do for you. Okay, let's go die now." There's no question in his mind. There's no philosophical ravings and rantings and conversations between him and her of, is this right? Is this not right? To him, death is here and it's coming for you. And now we do the process. And depending on a lot of different factors in life, you will feel differently on the whole assisted suicide topic, which we're not going to, go into here.
Let's resolve that debate right now.
Right. But there is a certain way of handling life and death in the comfortable day-to-day realm of society, and then there is the battlefield mindset. You know what I mean? And Dr. Kelson is somewhat at war with nature, and he's devised this process. When we're introduced to his character through Aaron Taylor Johnson's story, it's scary, it's horrific. You're like, whoa, this is really terrifying. He's applying his scientific mind to how do we overcome this massive problem in a way that retains dignity. So that was like the biggest thing that I took from the movie. And I thought, like I said, Boyle does a great job of being like, you want a zombie movie where no one cares? Well, let's do the inverse of that first. Like the first entry of this new trilogy is going to show you why the humans surviving matters in the first place.
Sure.
And it shows you the island, it shows you the bridge, it shows you the people. And so my guess is that part 2 will upset those apple carts. I know I said all that, but I really didn't like the movie that
much. It sounds like you got a lot out of it, though.
Yeah, like the Swiss dude. I was like, what are we doing here, man?
Oh yeah, that was okay. That kind of felt like warmed over 28 days later kind of stuff. And there is some structural similarity. Like there's a section where like there was like a war guy or like a soldier. And that almost felt like a nod to the original. And yeah, it's not like, I don't think it's like a perfect movie. I do have, again, I think that the kind of framing story of what was the kid's name, which is, it's a horrible scene. This movie, not Spike, but the other kid.
Jimmy. No,
Jimmy.
Sorry, wait.
Is it Jimmy or Timmy?
Yeah, Jack O'Connell plays Jimmy Crystal.
Jimmy. The movie does start off like, I talked about how humanist it is. This movie does open with like child murder, like to be clear, so. And as much as I got a good guffaw out of the metal cover of the Teletubbies theme song, I'm not sure this is a movie that can accommodate like a post-credit scene kind of thing. I know it's before the credits, but functionally is a post-credit scene. I don't know how elegant that was, but
right.
So, but again, you kind of hit on something that I think is why I like this movie so much, because you said it's a father-son movie, which it is. Yeah. But I think that there are two. I think that there are two dads, and I think the son learns something from both. And you mentioned how death is handled either on the battlefield, and that's Aaron Taylor Johnson. And that's Jamie, who he's a war hero. He is respected. After he gets into all these like horrifying scrapes that I was like, I give up. if the second I'm being chased by like a couple of infected in the way that he and Spike are
right,
near the
right.
beginning of this movie, I'm like, I give up. It's fine.
No, me too. Yeah,
Worms aren't so bad from the
yeah,
earth. And, you know, so you get to, and like they all just become like, you know, chum for like war stories over like a couple of beers. Like he is like this, he's this hardened guy who enjoys the victory and like the passion of battle, cheating on his cancer riddled wife. But you
right,
know,
right,
and that's kind of like the lesson learned there is that you know, you can be the outward hero all you want, but if you don't kind of have like you don't keep your own house in order, you might
right,
lose it, which is what gets
right.
us to the second half and the second dad, which is of course Dr. Kelson, who looks at death a completely different way. And you know, I don't want to just repeat what you just said because you said it so eloquently, but I found like being able to contain two and have this kid kind of get a lesson from two different father figures,
Yeah,
I think is really intriguing. And I don't know if the next two movies have any intention of building on that or if it's just going to get into here's Cillian Murphy again, because I know that he's
right,
spoilers for a movie
right,
that hasn't come
right.
out yet. He will be returning, and I don't know if we're going to be getting more standard legacy sequel stuff from that. But in the meantime, being able to turn this into almost like a parable, I think is
Yeah,
really impressive.
absolutely. Yeah,
At
yeah.
the expense of scares and some blood, but there'll be time for that later next year.
Right, right.
I suspect.
Yeah, you know, Jamie. Yes, you bring up a very good point. Like Jamie is also akin with death in that he's going out, he's purposely putting himself in harm's way. Oh, it's no big deal. Shoot this one, run a few hundred yards, turn around, take a knee, shoot another. No big deal. But when it comes to his own wife dying, he is avoiding. He's avoiding it. He's avoiding it. He's avoiding it. He's distracting himself with the excursions, with the other woman, and he's not able to do what Dr. Kelson does, which is what needs to be done, you
It's like,
know?
hey,
And
let's be
so,
straight about this and
right,
really,
exactly. He
really deal
can't.
with it.
And whether or not he can't do it because he himself can't face the reality of what's happening, whether or not he can't speak to her in the same way that Dr. Kelson is able to speak to her, who knows? But yeah, like Spike and Isla make this journey from father figure to father figure, and yeah, it's a very very stark contrast between the two, how they deal with each other. And again, not really what I was expecting. Well done. And on the opening with like the Teletubbies, and the ending with the whole like the Jimmy Seville thing, and Jamie's, you know, quote unquote triumphant return at the party. It's all, the movie is showing us how entertainment can pacify us and placate us and distract us and inspire us. Because the whole time when they go off island, I'm like, oh, okay, what are they doing? What are they doing? What is all this for? Because we see the community using their resources, which have to be incredibly limited, to make the
Oh,
arrows. You know, we see
they
like
were able to
it's not like Jamie
acquire
and Spike
eggs
are, yeah,
from somewhere.
right, yeah. They get bacon, like bacon is given
Mm-hmm.
to them special. And so we see the community is putting their resources to this. And so there must be some reason they're going there for some. They're not going there for any reason other than to come back and entertain
Mm-hmm.
the crowd so that the crowd can feel good and happy and inspired. It's not
They
like
want
they
to tell
come back.
stories.
Right. They want to tell stories. And it's the same thing that we're shown in the beginning. Something really bad is happening outside. So what do? Put the kids in front of the TV. Put the kids in front of the
Yeah,
Teletubbies.
you're right.
Distract the kids. And then at the end, you know, with the whole Jimmy gain, which a lot has been written about that. And as a non-British person, I'm not fully. I can't appreciate the cultural significance of dressing up this, you know, quote unquote heroic gain as a horrible sex offender monster. From what I've read, the timeline is basically that when the virus would have happened, no one knew yet
That's
about
correct.
Jimmy Seville.
That
And
came out after he
so,
died.
right. And so for them, it's something that they're looking back on from their childhoods, because this is 28 years later. So Jack O'Connell's, you know, what, mid 30s, maybe,
Probably.
you
Probably
know?
our age. Yeah.
And so they're also looking back as a source of strength. That's my only kind of, because I hate the end. I was one of the people. I was one of the people who was like, "Oh, what now?"
Well, it comes out of nowhere with 90 seconds left to go.
Yeah,
it's after this moment, this lovely cathartic moment with this kid's mother's skull. I mean, I know it's like not the exact previous scene, but that's where the movie concludes by and large. And then here comes Jimmy's game.
I say I hate the ending, but don't yell at me in your car. Like I can see it, because I can see in the storytelling, we have three. We have two father figures, and then we have the three beginning, middle, and end events that all tie back to nostalgia, the power of nostalgia, how it inspires us, how it helps us cope, all of that stuff. So I think Boyle and Garland are saying a lot. Like they're really like, this movie has a point, it has multiple points. We are commenting and we are saying things. This is not just a zombie movie. Yes. Anyway, so Spike, played by Alfie Williams. He had one role prior to this.
It's like a short film and like something else. I looked him up because I was like, this kid seems too good to have just done one thing. But he's basically a newcomer.
Basically, yeah. Very, very little work prior to this. I loved him personally. I thought that he did really well. I believed him when he looked anxious. I believed him when he looked excited. How did you feel about him?
Yeah, child performances, they're so common in media, but I feel like there's, relative to the amount that there is, not that many truly, truly great ones. There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of bad ones, but like, there's, I don't know. I'm just gonna throw out a number. There's maybe like 20 like truly, truly great child performances, and I don't want to like oversell the work here, but like I might slot Alfie Williams in one of those 20. I think he's really good, and he holds the whole movie together. I mean, off the top of my head, it feels like he's in like every scene. It's a huge role, up against some real talent. I mean, Rafe Fiennes and Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer. These are real actors. Maybe some people argue about Aaron, but I like Aaron Taylor Johnson.
I think he's great. I didn't understand the backlash when Nosferatu came out. I was like,
he was not the problem with that movie.
What is he supposed to? Not, I hate. Little side note: I hate in a horror movie when the characters that don't know that they're in a horror movie are expected to act like they know that they're in a horror movie. And Aaron Taylor Johnson and his family in that movie, they don't know that they're in a horror movie.
Sure,
they're just hanging out. So he's jovial and he's happy, and that's his character. That's the knowledge that his character has to that point. And then once it turns, spoilers for Nosferatu, but like when he's like crying over his, it's great. I thought
it's harrowing.
Yeah.
The thing about Nosferatu and like Nosferatu and Dracula related movies is most of the time, if Dracula or Nosferatu never show up, you just kind of have like a nice, pleasant English countryside hangout movie.
Right.
So the Dark Prince is the one messing everything up. So I think that's a great observation. So all three of them are great. And he holds his own, and you believe the emotions. That's the hardest thing. A lot of adult actors can't do that. And I dabbled in acting as a kid, like on like local stage kind of stuff, and I thought it was okay. But I was not. I see stuff like this and you go, oh no, that's a real kid actor. This and he's 14. He's barely not a kid anymore.
Right.
But still, again, I acted when I was 14, and I couldn't do this. It's really good stuff. You believe him. That's the hardest thing for a kid actor to do.
Yes. So Jodie Comer as Isla, I did not expect her to be in this as much. Like when the movie starts and she's kind of upstairs and upset, I was like, wow, they got Jodie Comer to do a real small part in this movie. Yeah. And then it was like, oh, actually, she's half the movie. So
she's like the second lead, basically. I was surprised because when her role we first introduced to her, and she's like this mom in crisis, right? We don't know that she's dying of cancer. Maybe it could be almost anything in the first couple of scenes, but she's really nasty and unpleasant. And I do feel like it felt like we were maybe going down a rabbit hole of despair in her first scene or two. And I do think this is one of the things about 28 Days Later that I really like 28 Days Later. As the movie goes on, it is like relentlessly bleak, bordering on nihilistic. Like you get a scene at the end where like this this child and like this woman are basically prepping for their assault by the in the hands of the military, and it is played, it's played with solemnity, and it's really bleak. So I was sitting here going like, oh, here's this mom who's like can't get out of bed, and she's just screaming the C word at her husband, who we don't know is a douche yet, and really and traumatizing this kid. I was just like, if the whole movie is going to be like this is technically good. So I think we're almost coming at this from two different perspectives. I like that it kind of eased up a little bit. So I was a little surprised. I was like, okay, I don't know where this is going, but once it kind of becomes a story about him and the mom kind of going out and trying to, forge a new path, I thought her performance opened up. I was surprised. I looked her up, and she's only 32, and I feel like she is playing a role like beyond those years. She seems much older, and part of that is, of course, I put this delicately, she's dying of cancer, which is not to say that people older than 32 must look sick, but she just doesn't, she doesn't radiate young woman necessarily. So I was really impressed by that. Yeah, considering how bleak her presence in the movie was in the beginning, I was surprised at how much I liked her continuing to be on and seeing that bond between her and little Spike.
Yeah, so I just looked up on IMDb and Letterboxd. She is top billed for this movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe relative to their size and like her name, maybe that's just how they came up with that.
Yeah, it's possible. And maybe they were like, "Hey, you're only going to be in this one." you're the
possible.
Lead. Yeah,
so we'll pay you a little extra for this. Maybe she'll come back in a flashback in the Bone.
Did you see the Bike Riders from 23?
I have not. I haven't.
She's in that. She's playing a real historical person, and she does an accent in that got a little lambasted.
Okay.
It's a real Midwestern, oh yeah, kind of
like that's almost Fargo. So that was, yeah.
But I loved it, and she was phenomenal. That's a really good movie for great performances. Everyone in that's giving a really good performance. Other than that, though, I hadn't seen her in too many things. I did not see The Last Duel.
I'm also on Letterboxd checking out what I might have seen her in. I've seen her in her top two most popular movies, which is, of course, Rise of Skywalker and Free Guy.
Yes.
Which are both pretty stinky, if you're asking me. I thought so. This is the best thing I've seen Jodie Comer in. So maybe it's time to watch The Bike Riders and The Last Duel.
Yes, it's very good. Yeah, between this, like I said, I can't speak for Last Duel. I've heard that she's good in it, but between this and The Bike Riders, she's definitely one to watch for anything that she's got coming out. I would say.
I was genuinely, I was really impressed with her, especially when I, went home and realized how young she really was. That was absolutely.
So we mentioned him a little bit, but Aaron Taylor Johnson as Jamie. How'd you feel about him?
Again, I liked him. I know that he kind of he gets his reputation. Some of that is related to his personal life, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Leave the guy alone. Who cares? I've always liked him. I remember him. I think the first thing I ever saw him in was Kick-Ass, I believe. And, he's made his appearances. He's done his time as like an Avenger, and he's done Godzilla movies and stuff like that. So this is kind of in that franchisey big summer movie wheelhouse, but I think I don't know, I think he holds his own. I really do. I find him very compelling as an actor. I know not everyone agrees, and it's almost hard to argue these kinds of things, because sometimes actors just work for you or they don't. There's plenty of very technically proficient actors that I sit there and go, yes, they did the work, they rehearsed well. I don't like them, I don't believe them, I think they're phony. Aaron Taylor Johnson, again, much like the kid who plays Spike, Alfie Williams, I just kind of believe him. And he has a difficult role here in that he has to be kind of charming for the role to work, and I think he does really well in that stuff. We talk about like this kind of bloodlust and this glory that his character has, but he is supportive of his son, who is trying this out for the first time and not doing very well. And there's a scene that really stuck out to both me and my wife when we watched this, where like I think Spike is kind of coming down from the adrenaline of like a battle where he didn't hit very much, or he's like I could have killed him. And he's like, no, you did great. You're great out there, son. Like he's genuinely proud of him, even though he's scared out of his mind and frankly not fighting very well.
Yeah,
and I think stuff like that, you need to be able to buy that side of him. So when you see him kind of philandering and having like this rage freak out when Spike finally stands up to him against his mom, you have to be able to buy both. And in my opinion, Aaron Taylor Johnson was adept at both sides, because he's kind of a villain that you kind of still need to kind of want to. He's not a villain. I shouldn't have said he's a villain. He can be antagonistic in certain scenes,
right?
But you want this family to succeed and work. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's what I'm trying to get at. You want them to be together, even though they can't.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't think. Yeah, villain probably isn't the right word, but I understand what you mean, because him and Dr. Kelson are both presented one way, and then there's a revolving door where now suddenly Alfie is looking at one the way that he used to look at the other, and he's looking at the other the way that he used to look at the one. He realizes, oh, Dad isn't the answer. Like, Dad is not going to fix this. Dr. Kelson is. And Dr. Kelson isn't the crazy, scary one. Dad is actually. So, like, in a way, Jamie kicks off his first journey in that he's taking him with him, showing him the mainland. And then Jamie kicks off Spike's second journey of leaving behind. Yeah, there's a lot of using the word parable, I think, is correct, because this movie is using pictures to show us different things, and there's a lot of pivots with characters. All right, I want to ask you about something that I did not like.
If this is about infected zombie dong, I'm ready.
No. I liked that. I thought that was cool. I'm all for
it, you know.
I mean, hey, look, it's 28 years later. Clothes would have rotted off. Like,
absolutely.
Everyone was like, "Why are they naked?" It's like, look, I don't know, man.
Why wouldn't they be?
This. Let them live. It gets into. So let's say that a zombie that we see now, how long have they been alive? Can the zombies last forever? We see some eating worms and they're getting by. So have they been infected for 28 years? Are they just infected 6 months ago? There's a lot of stuff that they just do not answer. I'm not asking them to answer it either, but I didn't have problems with the nudity. I thought, I was like, sure, whatever, man. What I did kind of start to have problems with, and I will hold my judgment until we see the next movies, right? Because this movie is clearly planting seeds for another story. When we're impregnating zombies and then delivering the baby, now I'm really like, okay, are we doing I Am Legend, where it's like, oh, actually these bad guys aren't that bad, we just don't understand their language and their how did you feel about this whole thing?
I mean, I was compelled by it in the moment, but as you're asking here, I hadn't really thought about what they're asking from us as an audience to feel about the infected. And it almost now feels, when you kind of describe it that way, it's almost maybe one thematic thread too many that it's not prepared to answer, because they don't really get into it. And I mean, the characters are very goal oriented about, hey, this baby's coming, let's figure it out. And like, hey, this baby maybe isn't infected, and I presume that will get followed up on. But this idea of like, maybe they are just people is it is kind of a big ask when you sit there and chew on it, considering just how horrid the infected have been through 3 movies. So I don't know. I'd be curious to see where the other ones go with it, or if it's just this one-off idea that doesn't get followed up on, because I would feel like that would be a missed opportunity, because it's intriguing to me. I don't think it's always like a bad thing. I mean, I think there's a place for very binary villains. They are bad.
Right.
They are
sure.
coming after you. Run. And then there's also room for nuance of like, hey, these were just people at one point. They still have human needs even when their brains are rotting. They still, you know, they still need to give birth.
Right.
That's not a need, but you know what I mean. If they just leave it at that, I will admit to being disappointed. I found it like an interesting turn in the moment. Yeah, I would need to see what the Bone Temple and the Untitled trilogy capper do with it, or if the characters do anything on it.
Right. The thing, and this is like, please, if you're listening, I'm not plot hole guy. I'm really not. I'm really
That's
not.
a cinema sin.
I promise. No, I can't stand that stuff. But like, you go so far out of your way to be like, we watch this land bridge. It's only accessible once a day, and our eyes are on it like a hawk. Oh, also, we didn't see Spike carrying a shopping basket, walk up and down it, and leave a baby there. We just heard the baby crying. I was like,
no, that's fair.
That's
fair.
You can't do that.
That's fair.
No, what I would believe
I have no answer to that.
Yeah, if Spike walked halfway, they saw Spike and he leaves the baby there and then heads back and they can't catch up to him. That I think is an easier way of explaining that whole thing. But to me, putting the baby on the island now gives the alpha the extra incentive to get to that island because that is his daughter. And so that like if they're setting up the board for higher stakes and altercations, I can see why putting the baby on the island is very, very important. I don't know. I was like, when when Jodie Comer and the zombie woman were like holding hands and giving birth, I was like, I want to connect with this emotionally. I want to be here in this moment, and I just can't. Like, it was a bummer.
I can kind of be a sucker for big sappy moments, especially when they come out of nowhere like that.
Yeah,
but upon reflection, I do have to kind of question like if that's something that they intend. And I'm thinking about this now. I don't know how you feel, but the structure of this trilogy is very interesting and not unlike the kind of reviled Star Wars sequel trilogy where you have they didn't do this on purpose. This is this is intentional, but like one director, second director, and first director comes back again. And I don't know how planned out all of it is. I don't know if Nia DaCosta is going to have more free range to do what she wants, and then Danny Boyle will kind of pick up the baton and work with what they have, or if there is sort of this idea for like a full trilogy. I don't know. I don't have any insight into that, but it'll be interesting to see how they thread that needle, because another famous rug pull movie, but I am a fan of, Last Jedi.
Oh yeah, me too.
Didn't work for everybody. So we'll see. I wonder if they're setting themselves up for another thing like that.
Right. Unfortunately, we can say how the movie made us feel, but knowing that this is a continuing story, there are just so many things where we have to say, we'll see. Which brings us to the end.
Yeah, or to be continued.
So you're sitting in the theater. You just went through this big emotional experience. Spike leaves the baby and a letter, and Jamie runs into the water and he's almost washed away. You go through all this. You are sitting there in the theater, and then we get the Jimmy gain. How are you feeling?
I feel like we have lost the plot over the last 20 or so years about what things belong after the credits and what things belong in the actual end of your movie.
Okay.
And, I'm not a Marvel hater. I do a whole podcast where we'll be eventually going through all of that. But I think that they have sort of blown up the calibration on that, because they'll put actual important moments and beats deep into the credits, and they'll just end on then their actual movie on a joke. So it was kind of, again, I found it funny. It was a little rousing because, again, there's like this big upbeat, this little sugar pop right after this very somber kind of contemplative finale that doesn't even really end with the big battle, by the way. The big battle is Dr. Kelson almost gets pulled up by he almost gets his skull ripped out, and then he doesn't. And then 28 years later, or whatever it was, 28 days later, at the end. So it ends with like a nice little rock and roll upbeat, and that's fine, but it just doesn't belong as the actual end of the movie is my problem. That would have been a fine thing after, maybe not even, maybe mid credits, like, hey, a little surprise to kind of get you going for the next one. That would have been fine. It's a little odd as the actual canonical finish of the movie. I will admit that. But again, metal cover, the Teletubbies. So who's to say whether it's good or bad?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I was just laughing. Like I wasn't laughing at the movie. I was laughing in confusion. I was like, well, they clearly wanted us to feel something, and I think that Alex Garland and Danny Boyle know how to make films. There's no question about that. I think they know how to write. They know how to tell a story. And I think that they knew what they were doing. I think that they knew that this is a little cheeky. It's a little weird. It's definitely not what people are expecting in the moment. Like if you thought like, oh, it's going to end in a really big, cool, crazy way going into it, after sitting through it, there's no way you were thinking that.
Hadn't even occurred to me.
Yeah. And so, me laughing at it, and I literally, like, I watched this all by myself. Not all by myself. I was in a theater with people, but I didn't have anyone around me. That happens. The credits go, the house lights come on, and I'm just laughing. I just threw my hands up and looked around and said, well, okay. And that was it. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. They made me feel something. So,
and that's what it's all about, if it can elicit some emotion, even if it's bafflement, that counts for something.
And I like Jack O'Connell. I mean, obviously everyone has been loving him in his turn in Sinners this year.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he's great.
I recently watched a film that he's in called Little Fish from 2020. I really recommend people watch that. And then I also just watched him in Eden Lake for the first time, which is like a thriller. A couple who go to the lake are harassed and terrorized by just some local horrible kids, led by
some
Jack
local
O'Connell.
toughs.
Yes, and he's terrifying in that movie. So, I thought he was fine in the 5 seconds he was in this, and I look forward to whatever they do next.
Yeah, I don't wholly reject the idea of the Jimmy character, and to be honest, I didn't even pick up on the fact that there's a Jimmy Savile connection until you mentioned it. And I was like, surely it's not the same Jimmy Savile, and then no, it's one and the same, which I think was really interesting. And I almost hope they don't try to make that actual text. I hope they don't try to like actually address it. I don't know how they could, because no one else knows about it either. Yeah, no, I don't reject the idea of the character. I'm excited to see him in the next one, which I think is coming out like in January. That's the other thing that surprised me. They're chugging these right along. I question the tonal shift sometimes, but you're right. That is a Danny Boyle staple. He likes to mash genres, which leads me to like my only hot take. It's not related to this, but it is Danny Boyle related. I have kind of a soft spot for A Life Less Ordinary, which I was surprised to learn is like maybe his most hated movie.
Interesting. I have not seen that one.
So a lot of the kind of the tonal clashes, I think, kind of comes out here in that ending. Now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, not everyone loves it. I checked it out a few weeks ago after having first seen it on like a one of those like Sunday afternoon movies you just catch on TV by accident. And I was endlessly charmed by it. Worried it didn't hold up. I still think it does, but I might be on, much like Spike, Jamie, and Isla, on an island all to myself on this. But anyway, the tonal shifts reminded me of how they end this movie.
Wow, listen to this cast list. Ewan McGregor, Cameron Diaz, Holly Hunter, Delroy Lindo, Dan Hedaya, Stanley Tucci, Tony Shalhoub, Ian Holm.
I think what's his name from Justified appears in a scene or two.
Yep. Timothy Olyphant. Wow.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and again, it's a couple different premises all stacked on top of each other. Holly Hunter and Delroy Lindo play these angels that are tasked with making Ewan McGregor, who I think is a recently fired custodian, fall in love with Cameron Diaz, who is the daughter of the boss that fired him, who he kidnaps, and then they go on the road together.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That sounds
if you hate
like a lot.
That's understandable. It is a lot. It is a lot. In the way only Danny Boyle can. But
right.
Hey, if anyone else likes it, hit me up. Let's talk about it.
That's right. And Ryan, where can people hit you up online?
I'm on Blue Sky. If anyone Blue Skies, you can find me at therealritter.bsky.social. I'm also on Instagram under the real Ryan Ritter. As you can tell, I'm very I don't want anyone to find a substitute or an imposter. Right. And my blog and my podcast are also on Instagram, so you can check us out there.
Very cool. Yeah, and be sure to check out the show notes. I will have Ryan's podcast and blog linked there, so be sure to give him a follow. And hey, if you enjoyed listening to this, maybe even if you didn't, who really cares? We would love it if you give us a rating and a review wherever you're listening. If you're on Spotify, you can leave us a comment right on the episode. Oh my gosh, isn't that crazy?
Whoa, modern technology, man.
That's right. That's right. You can also send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about 28 years later. Let us know what you're thinking about the Bone Temple. Does this refer to Dr. Kelson's Bone Temple, or is there another Bone Temple? Whoa.
That's pretty crazy. There's always a bigger Bone Temple.
You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. You get access to all of our additional episodes, patron-only Discord. You get to vote on upcoming episodes and monthly themes. And you know what? You get to go to bed at night and say, wow, I did something today. I could have taken that $5 and bought like a freshly cleaned human skull. And instead, I supported an independent movie podcast that made me laugh. I'm a hero. That's patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast.
$5 does get you a lot of iodine for your head, though.
That's right. Well, okay. Again, not to be a CinemaSins guy, but I was like, how much iodine does this guy have that 28 years later he is still rubbing himself down? But I just
he makes it himself. It's like Pruno, but for iodine.
Okay. You know? All right. Yeah. You know what? I believe it. Whatever. Well, Ryan, thank you very much for joining me.
Of course.
You helped me work out some of what I was thinking about the movie, so I definitely appreciate your insights, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Memento mori, my friend.
That's right. And hey, thank you very much for listening, wherever you are. Until next time, have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Theme music by Jean-Marie Vargas. Visit us at our website, moviefriendspodcast.com, and please subscribe and rate our show wherever you are listening. You can support Movie Friends at patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Thanks for listening.